Hey, friends, welcome back to the Coop Chicks in Charge podcast. We are actually starting a really exciting new series called our SHE Shines Spotlight. She stands for smart, honest, and empowered. And I am kicking off this series with one of our SHE Shines speakers. So you get to be the first, LaVista Jones. Welcome to the podcast.
Yay! I'm the first. I didn't know I was the first.
You are the first. Yes, woman. All right.
Yes.
Well, so She Shines, I've done these She Leads conferences for the last 5 years, but
Mhm.
they've only been in Oklahoma. So like Oklahoma City and Tulsa. And then of course, one time during that time we don't like to speak about, I had to do it virtually. And I'm really an in-person girl. Like I love that we get to connect on technology, but I'm super excited about gathering in person. And
Mhm.
so it's our first time to take this conference on the road, and we're going to be in gorgeous, sunny Scottsdale, where they say it's always sunny in Scottsdale. And I was there a few years ago with my daughter, and I knew when I was there, I was like, we have got to go back. And so that's how you and I got connected. And I'm so
Mhm.
glad that you said yes to being a speaker. And so I really, my goal with this new series of the podcast is to give everyone an introduction about who our speakers are, what they can kind of expect there. And it's all about shining our light
Mhm.
and being the best leaders that we can be. And so that's why our conference is going to focus on how to level up our leadership skills and how to level up our relationship skills. And so we'll just jump right in then. LaVista, tell us tell us what you do and kind of give us a little bit of that journey of how you became the woman and leader that you are today.
Yeah, so I have a bit of a dual brand, if you will. So what I do personally as La Vista, I'm an author and a speaker and a coach, and I really work with my clients that are doing that delicate balance of high performance and ambition and well-being, right? The subtitle of my book is doing the work you love without sacrificing yourself to do it. As a corporate dropout, turned entrepreneur, and somebody that's experienced burnout and has, survived it, and I'm on the other side of it. I know far too well what it's like to kind of adhere to kind of like those societal expectations that you've got to like go, 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 hustle, 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 that
Mhm.
somehow your worth is tied to what you can produce and how much of it you can produce.
Yeah.
And it's just like, hey, you know what? First of all, that's some B and some S. And because we have worth just because we are who we are. And we don't have to keep, ourselves caught up in this trap of being exhausted and overwhelmed and burnt out for the sake of work. We don't have to sacrifice our well being, our mental, our physical, our spiritual, our relationships. Those things don't have to just like implode on each other, just for you to make an impact in the world. And so, what I write, what I talk about, even on my own show, really kind of focuses on that. The second part of that brand is, I mentioned I do have a show. And so I own a podcasting agency. And so it really
Okay.
is helping to amplify other voices in the marketplace that have an impact, that have a disruptive kind of point of view that, like, hey, let's talk about this in a different way that, is not being talked about, already, to kind of shake things up in the marketplace and to amplify their impact again, though, without sacrificing themselves to do it. So we make it really easy for the hosts that we work with so they can show up and be the talent on the microphone, and really everything else just kind of happens, behind the scenes for them, so that they can actually get their message out with some ease without, adding more stuff on their already packed plates.
I love that. And I'm going to share in La Vista for those that are on our YouTube channel, they'll be able to see this.
Yeah.
But I'm a big believer in word of the year. And you said the word ease. And looky here. That is
Oh,
what
I see it.
that is what
Yes.
my word of the year is, ease.
I
And
love
so
it.
I'm here in downtown Edmond, which is a suburb of Oklahoma City, and we have a jeweler that's just a couple blocks up, and they make these friendship bracelets as well as higher end things. But I made a bunch of these for friends and people to and my daughter, I think her word was flow. She's a manager at
Mm.
an autism clinic, and she told me, she's like, Mom, when I feel myself stressed during the day, I look down at my bracelet. And so I love that works, and I love that you do that. And so kind of tell us what so you said you were a corporate dropout. Same. I was at a couple of corporations,
Yeah.
and while the money was nice, you can't help that, like in my case, both of the companies, the corporations merged with other
Mhm.
people, and then my whole marketing department was gone. And that is when I made the leap myself with actually my boss there, and we're like, why don't we just start our own thing? So
Mm.
tell us how. Um, so where do you feel like you shine the most? And then tell us how you work with your clients on that. And I will preface this to say too, I've been listening to your podcast and I love it. And I have caught myself too going like, what am I doing? Like I can feel myself with
Mhm.
the burnout sometimes during the week and when I'm not resting and all of that. So I know that takes a lot of mental and emotional work to get there.
Yeah.
So kind of tell us how that works.
So I think that part of my shine, right, is like I'm this quiet storm that kind of comes in and, disturbs things, right? Like, who told you that? Like, who told you that you have to live life this way, exhausted and tired and overwhelmed, just to prove something to somebody or to, like I was saying earlier, to try and prove your worth. Who said that you have to sacrifice like your health and relationships and those kind of things just for your work, for the work that you wanna do. And so I really help, my clients manage and kind of marry this idea of systemization and self-care with
Mhm.
each other so that they're living life on their own terms and doing things and living in a way that is actually bringing joy and nurturing them on a day-to-day basis instead of doing things vocationally or in their business that's like draining them and like leading them on that path to burnout. So it's just like, all right, you got that vision. We can actually make that come to pass, but we also have to take care of the visionary. And so it's kind of showing them how to put those two things together. Like, how do we automate things? How do we bring ease into your life, the way that you're running this business, the way that you are showing up as an individual contributor, in corporate America and still having the time and the space in your calendar to live and enjoy your life. And it kind of goes into the acronym for my show and for the book, right? BOSS, which is battling overwhelm with systems and self-care. So we've got to, make some mindset shifts, call out the things that are overwhelming us, making us feel or suffocated like in our own lives. And then how do we incorporate and leverage systems and self-care to do that?
Yeah. Wow. That is powerful stuff when
Mhm.
we get there. So for our listeners out there, if they're sitting there thinking like if they're in a place where they are feeling overwhelmed
Mhm.
and they're not really sure what the first step would be to get there, where should they begin?
To get on the other side of it,
Mhm.
one of the things I think I would tell them is to take a pause, right? Like, you don't have to do this, like, audacious, like, "Oh, I've gotta take a 10-day trip to Rome to feel relaxed." Like, just take a pause and, really breathe, right? Like, I know we breathe every single day, but how often do we breathe with intentionality to really like sit upright, right? With our feet planted on the floor and, potentially like our hands over our heart and, eyes closed and really just take in a deep breath.
Okay,
And
let's do that right
yeah,
now.
I
Let's do
love
that.
to. I'd love to.
Unless you all are listening to this driving, don't do
No,
this.
no, don't do this.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah.
I wanna do this right now with you, Lavista. So, okay, so my feet are planted,
Yep,
sitting
on the floor.
upright, my hands over my heart, and then what do
Close
we do next?
close your eyes. And we're going to do just some deep breathing. We're going to do some box breathing together, okay? And so what that is inhaling for a count of 6, holding it for 4 and then pushing it out for a count of 4 as well, okay? So
Okay.
in, hold it, and out. Repeat in, hold it, and out. Repeat in, hold it, and out. One more time in, hold it, and out. How do you feel, sister?
Wow, I feel so much better. I will
Mhm,
say my whole body almost feels a little tingly, so maybe the
mhm,
oxygen, right?
mhm,
And I feel more relaxed.
mhm. Yeah,
And I had some tightness in my chest before, and that is gone. And I also am feeling some more like mental clarity.
mhm, yeah. So you go breathing, intentional breathing really takes your body from this, like, we've all heard of that fight or flight, right? It takes you from being in that fight mode into being relaxed. And it's just like, okay, like I don't have to be reactionary to like everything that's going on right now. I can like take a minute, gather myself, kind of reset that way. And you said, like, I feel clear, you can focus, right? Because
Yeah.
everything is not coming at you right now. If you take that moment to breathe, one of the other things that I typically do with clients is have them do a quick self check, which is like right now that you've like taken some deep breaths, how do you feel? Right? Like really check in with yourself and honestly answer, how do you feel? Like, do you feel overwhelmed? Do you feel like you're anxious? Do you feel like put a name to that
Mhm.
that you've been feeling that made it feel like you weren't able to breathe, that thing that was making you feel suffocated. And then ask yourself, what do you need? Right? So if it's a feeling of overwhelm, if it's a feeling of anxiety, if it's a feeling of whatever, what do you need in order to get support with that? Do you need some help with a project? Do you need help with the kids? Do you need help with dinner tonight? Do you need, to have like a date night? Like what is the thing that you need? And then, okay, how do I get that for myself? Can I do this? Can I move this around? Can I reach out to a friend? Can I talk to my partner? And that's a really quick, like it didn't cost you anything. It took just a few moments of your actual time, but to really kind of focus and have more of that self-awareness, and it's like, "Okay, I can do this," right?
Yeah.
I've calmed myself down, I've figured out, I've checked in with myself, I know what it is that I need, and then now I'm gonna move forward actually giving myself that thing that I said that I needed.
I love that it's so in the moment and that we could have, I mean, think about it, there aren't that many things in life that you're going to get an immediate response to. And
Yep.
yeah, you feel so much better just after what? Didn't even do that for 2 minutes.
Nope.
And the fact that I love that, yeah, it's free.
And
It's
it's
great.
free.
Well, and I was gonna say, since I've started listening to your podcast too, I've really been thinking about ease every day. I was like, how can I go about this with ease? And if I catch myself feeling stressed, to just pause and do some breathing, do some kind of recalibrating of
Mhm,
my schedule and delegating to my team and all that. But also, what areas of my life am I overwhelmed in my house? And then here at the office, for example, there was just too much clutter. Like we had
mhm.
to clean one thing out. And I thought, what's overwhelming me? And it was clutter. And so my closet was too packed with clothes. And I'm like, why? It stressed me out just to go into my closet. Cause then
Yeah.
I feel like when I'm rehanging things, there's no room. So I ended up the other day taking some time and going through and thinking, having a donate pile. And then I also started using another closet so that, and now when I go in my closet, there's space between my clothes, which I have never had before.
Yes.
And I thought, wow, what a beautiful kind of metaphor that is too, because we want that with our thoughts, that you want some space between it where it's not just all that mental chatter all the time, which often is negative since we have that negativity bias. And so I'm just going to say, LaVista, I'm really trying. It's hard, but
And
it's working so far.
And that's what it is. I mean, self-care as a whole is really a daily journey. It's this ever-changing, ever-evolving thing that you do to care for yourself. It's definitely not something that you check off like, "Oh, I self-cared today, like things are great." It's how do you actually incorporate different things that like bring you joy, right? Like your example with cleaning out your closet, like that's literally finding joy in the ordinary. Like
Right.
who would say like my closet brings me joy, but the way that it was making you feel chaotic and overwhelmed.
Hmm.
You did something about it, and now you walk in there and you're like, "This feels good,"
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Finding the joy in the ordinary, figuring out those little things that you can do to nurture and take care of yourself day to day to day. How do you incorporate more of that on purpose, so that, like I said earlier, that it's infused in the way that you work, it's infused in the way that you live, it's infused in the way that you engage with your relationships, like it's a way of life.
Yeah. Oh, that's so important. And I really hope that the listeners will take that to heart, that we deserve to live a life of ease. It doesn't mean that we're not working hard, but we're also, it is that balance
Yeah.
and just that self-awareness. And I think that's what I love so much about what you do and what we're going to do at She Shines in Scottsdale, is because it does start with self leadership. Like, how can we be a good leader to others and to our mission
Mhm.
if we are feeling less than and burn out and don't have that to give? And so I think from self leadership to servant leadership, that self care is that huge piece in the middle of that we have to have that to be able to make the kind of impact in the world that we want to make.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. You know, and I won't give like a sermonette or anything today on the show, but there's one of the scriptures that I talk about in the book where um Jesus is asked the question, like what's like the most like important command, and it's love the Lord God, with all your heart, and then it's love your neighbor as you love yourself, right? And I think that sometimes when we look at that, it's just like, oh, I need to do good out in the world, and which is true, but I think if you really dive into it, it's you modeling how you take care of yourself is first, because you can't extend goodwill towards somebody else if you don't have it for yourself. You can't take care of somebody else well if you don't first know how to do that for yourself. You can't speak affirming things to someone else if you don't know how to affirm yourself. So,
Yeah.
this
I'm snapping
idea.
over here. All the snaps for
Yes.
Louisa.
This idea that, self-care, like, isn't selfish, I kinda call BS on it because it is. It's the care of yourself. You truly are at the center of it because you need to be okay, and your self-care can't be tied to anything else like, "Oh, I'm doing this so I can be a better mom," or "I'm doing this so I can be a better spouse," or "I'm doing this so I can be a better business owner." You're doing it because you just need to be okay, period. Now, when you're okay, you showing up as a better mom is a byproduct of that. You showing up as a better partner is a byproduct of that. You showing up as a better business owner, a better friend, all those things, that's like the icing on top of an already delicious cake. But you're the cake. Like you need to be okay, period. So, yeah, your self-care is most definitely selfish, and it should be. And we've
Mhm.
got to let go of the guilt that's associated with using our time and our energy and our resources to take care of ourselves.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you said that, because one of the things and why I put on our website, so if you go to chicksincharge.club, go to our Scottsdale page, She Shines. I'm talking about it being a spring break style conference, because for those of us, flying in there, like make it a bi-leisure, like make it where you are allowing yourself to have some fun and relaxation. And yes, if you need to get some work done, and yes, we're going to have a full day of amazing, talks on Friday, April 12th. But that's what I'm so excited about. My
Mhm.
birthday is actually that Sunday, right after the
Yay.
conference, and so it's going to be my birthday spring break trip. But I really hope that women will consider that you deserve to have some rest and play, whatever that looks like. If you're doing it in your backyard, wonderful. If you allow yourself to go on a trip, and because one of the things, whenever we read The Power of Fun last
Mhm.
summer in Chicks in Charge, and how to have true fun that's not just numbing out, like sitting there watching, a whole series on Netflix,
Right, right.
but actual true fun where you are engaged and you feel vital again. It's like it does refuel you. And to me, that's what travel does for me. So I'm really excited about this trip. And my daughter is going as well. And so we were talking about that we were at the zoo on a little zoo walk. And it's like, we were like, I cannot wait, because we had a sunny day here. And so it was like, oh, we're going to be in Scottsdale in just, a couple months, and just how we both were just saying how much we need it. And I do take those little breaks every
Mhm.
day as well. But it's just something like just giving yourself permission to do the things that bring you joy. And travel is definitely that for me. And I love meeting other fabulous women. So I'm really excited about that day with you and our other speakers. And so I really hope that women will consider that. Like, you do not have to, if you don't have young kids, because my kids are grown now, we do get a bit of FOMO when everyone else goes on those spring break trips.
Yep.
Guess what? You don't have to have permission to take a trip and to take a spring break trip just because your kids aren't in primary or high school or college anymore, right?
Yep.
And so it's like, yes, you can do it. You don't. So, or if you think that you needed permission, La Vista and I right now give you permission to take that spring break trip. And even if you don't have kids or don't have young kids, like, let's do it.
Yes, definitely take that time for yourself. And I think that, what you're talking about is that play aspect of life is so important. It is so important. Like, at some point when you start to transition into adulthood, like, that goes away, and it's just like, "Oh, but if you can tap back into it, man, it, like, brings back just, like you said, like, this kind of vibrance to your life." So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. I cannot wait. We're coming to your neck of the woods because you're based there in
Yes.
Arizona. And, our we wanna talk about unlocking, our leadership skills and relationship skills. I feel like those 2 just go hand in hand. That's why I
Mhm.
feel like your talk there, La Vista, is sort of that bridge between the 2, because you have to have great self-care and great boundaries and great, understanding your main thing and your mission and all of that as a leader. And then also to have good relationships to yourself. What's your relationship? Do you even like yourself right now? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes I'm like, wow, I'd rather spend time with somebody else besides me, because maybe we're not in a good, space right then. So I'm really excited about your talk, because I feel like it's going to, really encapsulate both of those things to really take us to the next level.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah, so I want to close out our talk today with our theme being unlock your highest potential for the year. We started with, right now we're reading Hidden Potential by Adam Grant. And he does talk about how determined play is one of the things that can help you have greater achievement in
Mhm.
life, because you have that bit of novelty, and again, kind of get you excited about it again. Because whatever it is you're doing, if you're an athlete or you're a boss or you're a writer or whatever, you are, sometimes we think it's just all about the hustle and, well, I just have to work more. And we do the same old. And then we get so tired of it
Yeah.
and bored. And we're not inspired anymore by it. So I think that's really, to me, that's what things like this conference will do too, is help reinvigorate and
Yep.
inspire. And we're going to get new ideas from each other and really see how we can incorporate those in our lives and our businesses.
Oh, 1,000%. I think so. Yeah, I think that when, you get a group of women together and they're able to just kind of talk freely and be vulnerable, like you learn. And there is an aspect of being able to kind of like take those lessons and elevate yourself from like where you were when you first got there to hopefully being a different person when you leave, and you've got some things in your toolkit, right, from like all of the speakers, like across all of the subjects that you have curated together, for us to be different when we leave. Like that, I think, is the goal.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I'm sitting here, I'm in a room we call the retro room because I'm a 70s baby. And I have a unicorn head on the wall over there. And I'm thinking like Stacy Bozarth's talk at the conference is going to be like, be a unicorn leader. Like, what's it
Mm,
like to be a high vibe leader? Because there's so many misconceptions out there about what a quote unquote good leader is, or they think that they have to be tough or that they can't be vulnerable. There's like all these things, all these
yeah.
myths. And so I'm really excited about that, it is going to be just a magical day. It really will. So, so tell us, LaVista, what are your keys for unlocking your highest potential?
Well, one of them I talked a bit about earlier is doing those regular self checks with myself. So,
Mhm.
the stuff, like, I'm not just prescriptive, like, when I talk to people, like, these are things that I do to
Yeah.
actually take care of myself. So, right, like, I read about them, I research things, I try stuff out, and am more than willing to give anybody like feedback on like, hey, this is what I did, this is one of the things that might work for you, kind of thing. And truly believe in like kind of healthy curiosity and reconnecting with like your joy list, and the play and all that stuff that comes along with it. So definitely doing regular self checks is one of the things I think that helps and aids my self leadership, because I have to know what's going on with me. I've got to know how I am. I've got to know what my needs are to get those needs met, right? I have to be honest and identify those things and say, hey, like, and get over what I call in the book like my own boss shame, and raise my hand if I need help or support or whatever the case may be. And I think the other thing for me is being able to have created a safe place for me to be a vulnerable leader as well. Um, and it kind of goes back to that idea of the boss shame that I was talking about. Like, I don't subscribe to posturing in allowing my team to think that I've always got it all together. Like a lot of the time, most of the times I do, right? Like
Right.
I'm very focused, I'm very ambitious, I'm very clear on what my vision is and how we need to execute it. But I'm also human. And I
Mm.
think that sometimes we do those around us, our teams especially, a disservice by trying to shield them from our humanness. So being able to be vulnerable, and it's like, hey, like, I'm struggling with this, or, whatever the case may be, maybe even sharing things that are going on, with my family. Like, I'm in this, sandwich generation, I think is what it's called, right? I have a
Mhm.
young child, I have an 8-year-old son, but I also have an aging parent that is living across the country, 2,000 miles away from me. And so that's hard. Like, just because I'm sitting here at my desk in my office doesn't mean that I get to turn off being somebody's daughter and somebody's mother. And
Mhm.
so if there's a health issue going on with my father in Ohio, I'm probably going to share that with my team, because I'm going to be maybe off that day because like
Yeah.
I'm thinking about something else, or I'm distracted or preoccupied, or hey, we need to make sure X, Y, and Z is in order because I'm going to need to get on a plane and head over to Ohio, right? And like this shouldn't be like this big shocker, like, well, what's going on, right? So, having and building that self-awareness for myself, and then allowing myself to be vulnerable with those that I lead so that they get to see me and experience me holistically, and not just this, hey, she's always got her ish together. It's not always the case, but not only do you get to see me be a real person, but you get to see how I was able to overcome those things, because I guarantee that they're going to have stuff that they're dealing with. And it's just like, oh, maybe I was able to model something for them that they might not ever share with me, but maybe I was able to model something for them that they'll be able to use to get through that particular season or situation for themselves so that they can show up the way that they need to in their own lives for work and those that are influenced by them. So, those two things for sure.
Yeah. Oh, those are good. Those are good. And we're going to share even more at the conference. And so we're going to several ways that you can connect with La Vista listeners, and we're going to put those in our show notes. Visit her website. Subscribe to the podcast. It's fabulous. You can, we'll have the link. You can buy the book. And I believe you'll have some books available for us at the conference too,
I
right?
will. I will. I'll have books
Buy them
along with
there and
the
get.
journals that go with them. Mhm.
Yes, the journal. And do you also have a planner?
Yes, I do, and some other things, like, we've got, like, a candle, which I call, like, our work candle, that
Nice.
is called resistance because we're resisting that expectation that, being overworked is the only way that we can do this. So it's just like, "Hey, burn this when your workday starts," as this kinda symbolic thing that, like, "Hey, this is what I'm focusing on," and then when it's time to let work go, blow it out, and go on about your business and live your life.
Oh, I love that so much. Okay, so all those goodies will be there for us at the
Yep.
conference, and you can get a signed copy of Livingston's book. But
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and dig in and read it beforehand too.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, I'm really excited that you're a part of this. And again, visit the show notes, listeners, so that you can connect with us. And I'm also going to include the special promo code, La Vista's special discount code for the conference as well. So
Yay.
we cannot wait to see you there. And La Vista, I will see you April 11th.
Yes, I'm so excited. And if anybody wants to get a head start in reading, you can go to the website and actually download the first chapter for free and kind of
Nice.
get a head start reading that on your plane ride here into Arizona, right?
Perfect. Love it. All
Yes.
right. We will
Well,
talk to you soon. Thanks
all
so
right.
much.
Bye.